What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Legit Whiskey Reviews, and today I'll be reviewing Eagle Rare. So Eagle Rare, the famous, infamous, whatever you want to call it, Eagle Rare. This is coming out of the Buffalo Trace Distillery. This is 90 proof, so 45% ABV. And as we all know, when it comes to Buffalo Trace products, all the way from the bottom, which is the Buffalo Trace, all the way to the top, they're extremely hard to find. Even the Buffalo Trace sometimes is hard to find. Luckily enough for me, in my area, I can find the Buffalo Trace, I can find the Eagle Rare pretty easy. So once it gets past the Eagle Rare, that's where it gets kind of harder to find the other ones for me. But in my area, these are pretty reasonably priced too. This one here I can find in my area for right at the $35 mark, which I believe is right around retail. This is a 10-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Yeah, I feel like I've talked about this whiskey before. I've even done blinds on the channel before. I think I put it blind against the Russell's Reserve 10 before in a blind, but I've never reviewed it by itself. So I feel like it's long overdue. I was kind of putting it off because it's so hard to find for some people. But I just feel like I felt like reviewing it today. So let's get into it. All right, so this is they're sticking okay to the glass. The legs are coming down slowly. They're barely starting to form. They are coming down, but slowly. So pretty good viscosity for a 90 proof whiskey. All right, let's get into the nose here. Oh yeah. I feel like, as far as my experience, when it comes to these Eagle Rares, I feel like the longer you have it, opened up, I feel like the sweeter and fruitier it gets. This bottle in particular, when I first opened it up, I feel like it wasn't as sweet, it wasn't as fruity as what I'm getting right now. This is extremely sweet and extremely fruity. I'm getting a very pronounced grape note coming through. A grape and a cherry note combined. There's almost, not quite, but almost a little bit of a juicy fruit gum note. But yeah, it's super, very grapey on the nose and a lot of cherry. There's a good amount of vanilla in here. So you're getting your classic bourbon flavors here when it comes to Eagle Rare, but you're getting your classic Buffalo Trace flavors, very fruity on the nose. So yeah, vanilla, a good amount of vanilla, some caramel. I'm not picking up too much spice on the palate. There's a little bit of oak, but for it being 10 years old, I'm not picking up that much oak. There is some oak in here, but I feel like it's just overtaken by the sweetness and by the fruitiness aspect on the nose. It's just taking over the nose. But the oak is in here, it's just in the background right now. But yeah, it smells very good, very inviting. I can see this being if it wasn't so hard to find, I can see this being I can see this being a beginner whiskey for someone, for beginners, because it's just so inviting and so sweet and fruity on the nose. All right, let's go to the palate. Cheers. Oh wow. I wasn't expecting that. So the grape, again, that grape note that I was picking up on the nose is very prominent on the palate, but the sweetness that I was picking up on the nose is not coming through on the palate. It's very sweet still, but not as sweet as the nose led me to believe. So I feel like the oak note definitely did show up on the palate. It's like mid palate, and then it takes over the back end of the palate. There is some spice. It's not, you know, over the top spice. So there's just a good balance of oak and spice. I feel like the oak that I picked up mid palate towards the back finish is it's a very sweet oak, very inviting oak. So this is for being, you know, it's a 90 proof, you know what you're gonna get. It's a classic Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It's classic Buffalo Trace, very fruity, very sweet. Although it wasn't as sweet as the nose, it's still coming through very sweet on the palate, just not as sweet as the nose. But that grape note that I was picking up on the nose, I am definitely picking it up on the palate. There is a little bit of cherry. I feel like the vanilla and caramel are still there, but they're also in the background, and not like that vanilla especially was really prominent on the nose. It's not like that on the palate. They're still there, but they're just like in balance with everything else that's in the background. So as far as the palate, I feel like it's more of a, you know, grape, oak, cherry, and a hint of spice on the palate as the main notes, with everything else in the background. But there's a good balance here. The finish is not overly long. It's just about a medium finish. So it kind of leaves a little bit to be desired, but overall very solid. But let's try it again. Yeah, so now I feel like the second time, I feel like the oak is starting to take over the palate. This time I tasted it, you know, it came forward more. So I feel like right now the overlying note over everything else is the oak. It's a sweet oak, but the second time it started to lean a little bit towards a bitter oak, but it's still on the sweet side, so it's very good. And then with all the other notes underneath it, so I'm still getting the grape, I'm still getting the cherry, I'm still getting, you know, caramel, vanilla, your classic bourbon flavors. And then I like the finish with that oak and the spice. I feel like it's a good balance. I just wish that all the other notes in the front of the palate were a little bit more in balance with the oak, because right now the oak is over everything else. And I feel like somebody that's not used to bourbons might be put off by how much oak is coming through. And I've noticed that a lot of these Buffalo Trace, the Eagle Rares, I feel like there's certain batches that are better than others. I feel like if you can find a store pick, you'll really be impressed with it. But this isn't a store pick, this is just a regular Eagle Rare. So I feel like these do kind of vary from batches to batches, but as far as on the palate with this one, I feel like the main note that's taking over everything and it's above everything else is the oak. But you know, I still feel like it's well balanced. And if you can find it at retail, like I said, I can find these for $35, but you know, they can go from anywhere to 40, 45, and you know, and up. So it just depends where you are, if you can find it, and if the store owners mark it up or not. But yeah, I feel like this is a good value, and excellent value actually for a 10-year-old bourbon. But you can argue that, you know, Russell's Reserve could probably take this one, you know, being 10 years old, readily available. You don't have to, that's available everywhere, and it's always solid. Any Russell's Reserve that I've ever had has always been like, you know what you're gonna get, and it's probably like $5 to $10 cheaper than this Eagle Rare. So that's a little argument there, and I think that's why I did a blind with this one and the Russell's Reserve, the 10, and I believe I picked the Russell's Reserve 10 that time. I'd have to go and look at it again, but I think I did. So, you know, it just depends what you prefer, but overall this is a solid value, and extremely good bourbon, but you know, it's just hard to find, and that kind of like knocks it down for me. And so as far as my final score, I'm gonna give this B plus. It's very good. It's just hard to find, and not everyone can get their hands on it. So, and if they can, it's gonna be overpriced. So it just really depends, you know, what you wanna look for in your bourbons. But I felt like the review for this one was overdue in my channel. I can't believe I hadn't reviewed it yet, so I just wanted to go ahead and try it. So if you like my content, remember to smash that like button. Remember to subscribe. You can catch me on Instagram at Legit Whiskey Reviews, and keep it legit and do it for the love of whiskey. Cheers.